Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. It is Thursday, August 18th, and we are getting ready for the Des Moines Challenge, which begins tomorrow. And we've got one final DGPT stop before the World Championships. And notably, Josh, it is the final regular season stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Everything after this, Green Mountain, MVP, Tour Championship, that's playoffs, baby. So this is the last chance to get inside the cut line for those events, because not everybody gets to play GMC this year or MVP this year. And so I think we need to talk about how that's all going to go and who might miss out on the playoffs.
The GMC definitely has a pretty wide field. We'll get to that. But especially once you get to MVP, you really are going to see some names who, there are guys who have Tour Series discs who are not going to be playing MVP this year. And given that these two events are two of the premier events in disc golf, GMC obviously being the best of the season, you do not want to miss these events. And I really think that players are going to be vying to make sure they get in. And then, that's not even mentioning the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. So it's going to be exciting. I love this format. I'm glad they're doing it. It's going to make these tournaments even more exciting than they already are.
So let's just talk about some brass tacks here. How is this working? What is the situation? Coming into the playoffs, the top 100 MPO players and the top 50 FPO players in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings are going to advance to be able to play at the Green Mountain Championships. So that's the first thing to understand. You got to be top 100 MPO, top 50 FPO after this weekend, and after all of the bad tournaments have been dropped and everything else, to be able to qualify. So, to be honest, I don't know if somebody declines their spot, I would assume it will go to the next person in line. So it could end up going a couple spots deeper because somebody doesn't want to go or whatever. But just understand that that's what's kind of on the line this weekend at DMC. Now, obviously, top 100, top 50, that's pretty far down the list. Like, pretty much all the big names are not even close to that line. Then at MVP, it's the top 64 MPO players and the top 32 FPO players get qualified into that event. Both of those tournaments, Josh, are worth 1.25 times as many points as a standard DGPT event. So the winner of the Des Moines Challenge is going to get 100 points in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. The winner of the GMC and the MVP is going to get 125 points. So there is an opportunity to get a little bit of an accelerated move up the board if you're trying to qualify for the Tour Championship, which of course has big payouts and guaranteed money if you get in, that whole situation. So then, we can talk about Tour Championship as well, but why don't we start with this, Josh? Notable names currently outside the top 100, top 50.
Yeah, over in MPO, I think the first notable name that I see on the MPO side is Andrew Fish. Andrew Fish has recently started touring more and is touring full-time, as he said on his Twitter. The reason I think Andrew Fish is a notable one is because he plays, like, MVP is not a home course per se, but it's near his area and he plays it a lot and he's very good at it. Andrew Fish is a player that we typically see on coverage over at MVP and can be a name to contend with. So the fact that he's sitting at 105 means that if he misses GMC, he won't even get it close to a shot over at MVP, which I think would be a real disappointment.
Well, what's disappointing for Fish is that, like, he played Idlewild, D-Glow, and Ledgestone, and he only earned like a point or a point and a half at each of those tournaments because he finished 49th, 59th, 76th. So he's going to have to really show up this weekend. Now, the thing is, he doesn't need to score a zillion points. Mm-hmm. He needs to finish like in the top 40 probably.
Yeah.
If he is currently 6 points behind Dave Feldberg in the 100th spot. And if Fish was to score like 10 points, he would be like up around 90. So, it's pretty thin down there at the 100 range. So he's got a shot at it, but like he actually does have to play decently well if he wants to get in.
Don't forget that we also have Worlds, which is worth 1.5 times a normal pro
Great
stop
point.
as well.
I completely forgot about that. Thank you for saying that, because Worlds also counts as even more points. So although this is the last Disc Golf Pro Tour stop and there's only a set number of Pro Tour events that will count towards your total, we do still have Worlds 100%. So thank you for the note. Jordan Castro is on the outside looking in right now. Let's see, Sepapayu, but I mean, he could get in just via Worlds.
Yeah,
because he is registered for Worlds and he just won a tournament. Seppo, maybe he's on his way back to the top out in Europe. Zach Melton on the outside looking in. Scott Stokely is in the 125th right now. Let's see.
I think that's really the only other one that I would say is notable from Europeans would be Silva Lot, mainly because he is here with Kristen as well, is registered for the next 3 events, but he's down all the way at 160 and does not seem likely to get in. I think that's
Philo. I mean, I don't know if Philo really counts as a touring professional anymore. Clearly prioritizing booth over competition, but he has been playing some. And he is registered for DMC Worlds, so he could certainly move up the board. Then they've got some younger names, Raven Newsom.
Sure.
Plenty of people who could have one good weekend, one good day, finish top 20 and get in. Let's take a look at FPO, Josh. What do we got going on over there?
Yeah, I jumped over to FPO before the show started, and it was not many. There's Tiger Borth is at 52. Heather Young, who is no longer
has not
touring
played since Beaver State. Yeah.
She's on the outside looking in. Sai Ananda is also on the outside looking in. Sai doesn't even tour that much, just has when she does play, she just shows up and plays really well. She could get in off of Worlds. She's registered for Worlds. Heidi Lane.
I mean, last time she played was U.S. Women's, and she finished 7th. So she could definitely get in off of Worlds.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you have Zoe Andike, Des Redding, Paige Shue.
Yeah, some names, but mostly people who are either older or not really touring.
Or not, yep. If it's a touring player whose name you'd recognize being there week in, week out, they're in.
Now, on the other hand, when you start to look at the tighter cut line for MVP, it gets a little more interesting. Like Stacey Ronsley, Ellen Widboom, Erica Stinchcomb, Callie McMorrin,
Sarah Gilpin,
Christine Jennings.
Yeah,
all on the outside looking into that 32 spot. So that, of course, we've got 3 big tournaments before that cut happens. So lots of time to make moves. Over in MPO, outside of the 64 line cutoff, Colton Montgomery, Zachariah Johnson, a bunch of European players, many of whom I believe are registered for Worlds. Well, some. Maybe not many. Jakub Semerad is registered for Worlds and DMC, so he could move up from 74th. Noah Meintsma, Nathan Queen. He's not played in quite some time.
Can you believe the guy who won the Pro Tour Championship is probably not going to make through the 2 rounds of playoffs?
Well,
he might.
It's a question mark. I mean, he's had some good finishes earlier this season, but I mean, the fact is he's definitely not looking like he's going to make it back to the Tour Championship.
Very unlikely.
At this point. It's pretty unlikely. He'd have to really show up at a couple of these tournaments. He's got 55 points, basically, and he needs to get to 223 And that's without any movement, right? So he's got a lot of ground to make up over the next few weeks. Now, he is registered for DMC and Worlds. So it's going to be interesting. But it's kind of crazy. I mean, that shows you how crazy it is that he won the tournament.
It's insane.
Last year. Think about how many crazy things. Like, Simon Lizotte won back-to-back Pro Tour tournaments this season. Like, can we just remember back to that? And how about this one? You ready for a throwback? Luke Humphreys.
Oh my god.
There's a throwback for you. Luke Humphreys.
Luke
was like the story of the first month of the season.
Yep. Yes, he was.
Wow. I mean, like, Simon has totally cooled off.
Mm-hmm.
Valerie Mondahano has cooled off. Like, we've seen some big surges from players, and then they've regressed somewhat.
You know,
and maybe that's to be expected when you think about their rating and stuff. But
we talk a lot about how two things that we say all the time on the show. Number one, it's getting harder to win. The parity is increasing, and there's more and more players that are good. Number two is that wins, and especially majors, are going to count for more, because just getting that one victory might be, for some, a career-defining accomplishment. I think the thing that we maybe don't talk enough about is how you measure success in a world where wins are as difficult to get as they are. Because you'll have people like Simon who pop up and will win a couple events, or Valerie who will pop up and win a couple events, or Luke Humphreys who will pop up and do well at a couple events. But I think the measure of success is going to have to become more nuanced when we talk about season performance. And I know that goes into factor when we talk about player of the year races. But for someone like Gannon, who finishes in top 10s and is consistently doing so, that mark is going to become almost as impressive as someone like Simon, who gets 2 wins and then falls off the tour. And indeed, I think when you look at overall standings on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, when you look at awards, when you look at how you talk about power rankings, I really think that success is going to start becoming, obviously majors are going to play an important role, but when you have 4 major winners, it becomes, and we still might this season, if you have 4 major winners at the end of the season at MPO, the trying to equate a major to other metrics of success is going to become ever more difficult. But a conversation that I think is going to become more nuanced and complex about what it means to have an excellent season, who you consider to be some of the best players in the world, and it allows us to write, rewrite, and decide on storylines in a competing fashion that really draws fans in, and I think makes for really exciting golf and compelling entertainment. So what a great problem, I guess, or a great season that we have players like Luke Humphreys that we can come interview, cheer for, and then he fades off and we bring Simon back on, and just that rotating cycle of players. It's great. Totally. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and like Simon is a sort of an extreme example because he won twice after years of not winning. I mean, it's an awesome story, and you know that he's got it in the tank that he could do that any time. Now, let me hit you with a name. You want to talk about players who haven't won, who are having a good season. Let me hit you with a name, and I want you to guess. Don't look.
Okay.
I want you to guess where they are in the Pro Tour standings. I'm going to give you a few names.
Okay.
Okay. First name is Aaron Gossage.
I'm going to say he's 20th.
That's a good guess. He's 17th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's 17th. He's just outside of a bye to quarterfinals for the Tour Championship.
Okay.
By about 25 points.
No wins this season.
No wins, but like having a good season. How about Albert Tom?
Albert Tom's got 1 Silver Series win.
He did win a Silver Series. It was awesome.
It was
Open in Tallahassee.
Awesome. I would say he's probably in play-in range. So like 32 to 36.
24th.
Wow.
Top European not named Simon. In terms of standings.
Sure.
You know, whether you consider him the top European contender is up to you. How about Corey Ellis?
My gut would say the same range, playing range, 32 to 36.
Corey Ellis is in 9th place in the Pro Tour standings.
Gosh.
I ordered these in such a way that I was going to trick you.
I figured that might be the case.
Corey Ellis, sneaky out here. Like, remember, he finished 4th at the Champions Cup, so that was worth a lot of points. But he's had a lot of top 10s. He was. It was a Silver Series, so 3rd at Beaver State. Then he was 2nd at D-Glow, of course, and then he just finished 5th at Ledgestone. Like, and he's been in the top 15 a lot. There's a lot of points available to you if you finish up in the top 20 on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Corey Ellis is going to have a chance to get a bye to semifinals. He's having a top 10 season right now.
It's incredible.
By the Pro Tour points, which I think this is a great metric to use because it weighs majors more. Mm-hmm. It weighs wins a lot.
Yep.
And the curve sort of exponentially drops off after you get outside the top 20. So somebody like Luke Humphreys, who had a great start to the season, I mean, he's still riding those strong finishes. He's in 28th place right now. But, you know, aside from a top 20 at European Open, he has not scored a lot of points lately. And he's very much at risk of completely falling out of the Tour Championship if he doesn't like score some points over these next few tournaments. So there's a lot of storylines to keep an eye on. Currently, last in to the play-in is Andrew Marweed. You're 31 to 36 playing an MPO. Chandler Fry, Greg Barsby, Eagle, Andrew Presnell, Casey White, Andrew Marweed.
You know, I will say I like a lot of those players' chances going into MVP to score some extra points.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, it's not a surprise to see players who are better on the East Coast and in the woods be kind of a little bit lower down right now because we haven't been in the woods that much.
Right. Yeah. Andrew Presnell, Casey White, Andrew Marweed, I think could still very easily get into the top, not even have to play in, just making it all the way through.
Here's your play-in FPO at the moment.
Okay.
Lisa Fakis, Kona Panis, Jessica Weiss, Holland Handley, Evelina Salonen, Rebecca Cox. I'll tell you what, I'm going to get some popcorn if we get to watch those players compete for the last, is it 2 spots? Yes. The last 2 spots. 6 players, 2 spots. That would be fire.
That'd be so good. That would be
so we'll see what happens.
So good.
You have to imagine, like, Evelina's playing DMC? I've learned not to trust the UDisc.
Never trust the UDisc standings page.
Never trust the UDisc registration. Evelina is registered for DMC,
okay,
as is Henna.
All right.
So that I did not know that. I assumed that they were just coming over for Worlds, but they're gonna get a warm-up tournament in over here. So that's exciting. I would expect Evelina with more playing opportunities to move up out of the play-in and into the top 14. So there you go. We'll keep an eye on this, of course, as we get a little closer to the playoffs, as we go to Worlds and everything else. Josh and I are both going to, in the near term, be trimming our beards. I'm doing some commentary coming up here, so I gotta trim this up. But when the playoffs start, we're gonna get the playoff beards going.
We should just do through Worlds. I mean, Worlds is weighs more than the playoffs. We should do through Worlds, through Tour Championship.
You want to start with Worlds?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
See, this works out better for me because I sometimes just let it get long. So
I'll cut it pretty short because I'm commentating. I'm doing play-by-play for FPO at Worlds.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to cut the beard down for the start of that.
All right.
So that I don't look unruly by the final round. But then I'm with you. I'm with you. We'll just get it going.
We'll get it going.
Worlds playoffs all the way through to the Tour Championship. Only the barest trimming of the beard allowed.
Yep.
You're a natural. I'm gonna have to. I don't know what's gonna happen to me.
Say you can go back and look at certain shows that my beard is just crazy long because I'm too lazy to go get it cut. My wife is a cosmetologist. She is a licensed cosmetologist and barber, and there are still times that I can't get around to doing it. You know why, Charlie? It's because cutting your mustache is the worst sensation in the world, and I will do everything I can to avoid that.
Wait, what do you mean?
So when the mustache starts growing down like over my lip, she'll take the trimmers even the scissors and just like
you got to clean it up.
Yeah, you got to clean it up. It tickles. It like vibrates your upper lip, and it's the worst feeling in the world. I hate it. So I go out of my way to avoid getting it trimmed as much as possible. Probably not a good policy, but
we need to get a take from you every show about something completely unrelated to disco. Like your take on concerts, your take on mustache trimming.
Look,
write some stuff down.
Right.
Whatever your friends are like, that's controversial opinion that you have. I need you to write it down, and then you need to bring it in here on the show.
I have another one that is always just gets a good rile out of people. So
okay, put it in the notes. We'll talk about it next week.
I'll do that.
That's the tease for you to come back next week, folks. Okay, Des Moines Challenge. It's coming up Friday to Sunday, 3-round event. Obviously, we had Ty Tanat on yesterday to talk about the DMC in our interview series, so highly recommend you check that out. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're about to have $100,000 purse at this tournament. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this, to me, TDs need to be sitting and taking notes on what's going on at DMC. They come out of the gate, and they hit the 60K mark last year, and they're about to go add 66% to the pot? Are you kidding me? It's crazy. So big money, and to come in just shy of Ledgestone with because Ledgestone has a long history. Number one, number two, how much money do they make selling these Ledgestone discs?
Oh,
from Discraft.
Yeah,
I mean it's like a money printing factory.
Yeah, without a doubt. Those Ledgestone drops are huge. They get
it's insane.
They get like really rare or just unmade combos of plastics and molds with really cool proprietary stamps and great. The fact that Ledgestone makes so much money is because of the large infrastructure that goes into it, not to mention, the title sponsors. Now, granted, they also put out players packs that include Zuka carts or rangefinders, right? So they spend a lot of money too, but there's a whole network that gets Ledgestone to where it's at.
But like in your mind, you're like, oh, DMC, this is like the new little tournament on tour. It's like kind of got a course that's not too crazy hard or anything. It's like kind of like feels like doesn't have the weight of some of these DGPT events.
Sure.
And yet they're out here kicking their butt in the money department.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I want to say in Pocatello, we have two banks. You have Lookout Credit Union and you have ICCU. I don't even know what. Idaho Central Credit Union.
You don't have Zion's Bank?
We have Zion's. Yep. We have Zion's Bank, but there are two credit unions local to Pocatello or the Idaho area, and that's Idaho Central Credit Union and Lookout Credit Union. Those two banks compete with each other to see who can outspend and sponsor city activities, parks. Lookout Credit Union just dropped over $1 million for a new town square in the middle of downtown, and the only thing they requested is that they get naming rights in perpetuity. So it's Lookout Point. Like that's it. Wow. That's all they asked for in return. It's gonna have an amphitheater. It's gonna have benches, playground, splash pad, extra parking. It's right across the street from the library. It's amazing. Then 2 weeks later, ICCU announces that they're putting in $500,000 to a new splash pad at one of the city's most popular parks. They are
like a little water play area.
For kids. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
After this, I'm done recording this podcast. I'm going and serving breakfast at a Lookout Credit Union event, thanking sponsors for a school district drive for the local school district. The amount of community support that these credit unions put in is unreal. And I think that that's the case for a lot of local credit unions in a lot of cities. I think if I tell this experience, people who are involved and engaged with city politics across the country are probably on the Discord or email going to say, yeah, we have those banks and those credit unions as well that are local, because to show that kind of community engagement it means you want to support them. And so the fact that you have True Bank, a regional financial institution, sponsoring it makes complete sense to me from my experience in city politics here in Pocatello, because the kind of advertising that you get from down to earth people, as long as you give good customer service, how much does it really matter where your checking account is?
And credit unions are often a much better deal overall than big banks.
They usually are. And so if you know you prefer a credit union, they have an app that works reasonably well, then I'm just going to go to the place that I have a good impression of.
And it's supporting the community.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day,
Sure.
How much are you going to notice a difference in between your saving and checking account? The interest rates are so minimal. Now, things like car loans or mortgages, that might be a little bit different. But for just your regular checking account, that's not like, when LL Bean, for example, sponsored the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships, me going and spending $150 on a sweater is a choice, right? I mean, there's opportunity cost there. There isn't for a credit union. And so it's just so easy for a credit union to invest in this kind of event. And especially with a page that has 4,000 people, I realistically believe that there could be several hundred new credit union users at True Bank because of their sponsorship in this event. It makes complete sense to me. I love it. I love the choice of a sponsor. And I think it's a really good model for tournaments to look at moving forward.
I just have a side example, like not quite the same thing. But when I grew up in Albuquerque, my bank was Sandia Laboratory Federal Credit Union.
Okay.
Part of the credit union network in the Albuquerque area. And I remember back, it was 2019. I still had an account. I had an account with them for many years. I eventually closed it because there's like no access to the bank or ATMs in New York City. But they're like, they sent an email out. Dear SLFCU member, I'm reading it. Great news. SLFCU is giving a $20 million special dividend back to its members. You will see one or more extra deposits to your primary share savings account today. And so they basically were just like, we're going to take all our customers. We're going to like divide it up proportionally, and we're giving out $20 million back to our members. Boom. I mean, that's not sponsoring a park, but that's everybody getting a fat check in their bank account is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And like, Chase Bank is not doing that.
No. Chase Bank has coffee shops that are now banks, so you can go sit and lounge in your bank.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. I remember Capital One's done that in New York for a long time.
Okay.
They have like some really nice cafes. Anyway, it's a great point. It's a very interesting thing, and I think it's an opportunity for TDs to recognize, like, hey, I should go talk to my Chamber of Commerce. I should convince local business people. Everyone's trying to hit the home run. Everybody wants to get the monster deal with the Toyota dealership or whatever. Like, these giant companies are looking for ROI in the many millions of dollars for these kinds of ad campaigns. They're not going to look at a tournament that's got a couple thousand spectators.
Yep.
But local businesses, where they know they're going to have a local audience paying attention, like that actually means something to them. So very interesting stuff. Last year, Des Moines Challenge, Paul Macbeth beats Calvin Heimberg by 2 strokes. Missy Gannon wins it by a stroke in a 2-round event because the final round was canceled due to weather. It's held at Pickard Park, designed by Juliana Corver. And, this is an elite park course. Let's call it that. You're going to have, I think it's like it's a little easier than Waco, and it's definitely like a different feel. There's like more elevation, and it feels more like a Jonesboro-ish than it does like Waco, but it's a park course. It's not horrendously difficult. It's not like the world's most special course of all time, but it's a good course, and there's going to be a lot of birdies, and it's, I think, a really good kind of transition between the grind that Ledgestone can offer and then getting over to Emporia. Feels like a nice transition point stop along the way.
If you listen to the interview series yesterday, he describes it as kind of a baby between Jonesboro and Idlewild. And I've often thought it was a lot like Jonesboro. It feels like Jonesboro to me. It has the elevation. It has greens that have the slope. So you have to really, angle control is really important on the greens. I really enjoy that about this course and any course that does that. But it does have some rough that can be punishing. I think Paul Macbeth last year had 1 bogey on the entire tournament. And, Calvin had like 4 or 5. Gavin Rathbun had 5, who took 3rd. So it is not a course that's going to tear up the pros by any means. We are, as Ty said in the interview series, a little bit worried about weather again. He said it's gone 4 months without rain, and now we have lightning and thunderstorms projected for Friday and Saturday. Well, that's how it goes, right? And so I hope that we get full 3 rounds. Should be an exciting tournament to watch, though.
So we are going to make our picks as well as our over-under on the other side of this break. So we're going to take a quick one and be back with you to get you all squared away for the Des Moines Challenge. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. I know I'm excited about the new smaller Rufus pack that just got released by Pound, but the second run won't be available for a little bit. So right now, I've got an exciting offer for you. All Upshot listeners can get 10% off limited edition backpacks. That's Carlton's, Octothorpe's, Deluxe Octothorpe's, Deluxe Octahauls, toolboxes, fanny packs. Anything limited edition, you get 10% off. All you need to do is use code UPSHOT. That will run through August 21st at midnight Pacific time. So you got a little time to figure out what you want, get it in your cart, and get yourself a Pound bag today. So go to pounddiscgolf.com, use code UPSHOT, and check out all of your limited edition options. Welcome back to the Upshot. It's time once again for our new segment, Bag or Bust, presented by Infinite Discs. Josh, what's this week's disc?
Yeah, this week we have the Divergent Golem. The Golem is an overstable putter, and so you have really, in overstable putters and utility putters, 2 camps. You have the small diameter mid-range feel, which includes something like a Zone, the new Innova Toro, I would say the Entropy, though it's a little bit of a transition one. Real thin, the A2 or any of the A series from Prodigy basically could be qualified as a mid-range, but an approach disc is the most appropriate word. Those typically go further, but they also feature a lot of ground play. On the flip side, you have the Pig, the Rhino, the Slammer, those kind of really, a Harp, I would say even, a real thick, looks like a putter, doesn't go quite as far, still just as overstable, but also usually features less ground play. The Golem is designed to do both. It has the much thinner and more aggressive profile, similar to that of a Zone, but it's made of a rubber that, it is so soft. If you were watching on YouTube, we fold the disc in half and it pops right back. It's designed then to have that overstability without any of the ground play, and featuring for those who like the feel of a Zone, but don't necessarily want the skip or the ground play that a Zone or an A2 would feature. Charlie, what do you think, having thrown this disc of the Golem?
I hate this disc. This is a bust. It's not going anywhere near my bag. I understand conceptually what they're going for. I can see why some people might like this disc, but I do not like it whatsoever. I primarily throw Zone for, overstable approach shots. Like the concept of a rubber, right, to minimize ground play, it's nice in theory, but this is just it's a bad disc to throw. It's so wobbly that it's uncomfortable to just simply throw it. And I just didn't find it consistent enough in its flight pattern for me to feel good about throwing it. I mean, for one thing, it is extremely overstable. Like it does not really want to fly. It wants to dump, dump, dump. So if you're looking for a disc where you're just like, I want to throw it, I want it to dump immediately, I do not want it to glide very much, and I want it to just stop in its spot, fine. But I don't find this disc useful. I can't throw it far enough. Like if I want to throw a 50-foot like sticky approach shot, sure, but like I don't know. I feel like I could just throw a putter in that situation. Like this is somewhere in the wrong space between a distance when I would just throw a putter and when I would throw something like my zone that's overstable, but like can still fly a little bit. This is a total bust for me. Goodbye.
One question for you, Charlie. How do you grip like this disc and your zone? So you use a modified fan grip as well. Yes.
Fan grip.
Same. I found the release angle incredibly difficult with a modified fan grip, and I would accidentally release it on Annie a little bit. I just could not get a consistent release off of it with a modified fan grip. So this disc is definitely a bust for me, but the world where I could see, is this disc for you? If you throw power grip, I think this could be a possibility, and you're really looking for something that isn't as far as your zone, really does fly more like a pig in terms of its stability, its distance, the ability just to stop. The slammer, I think, is another. The Wasaki Bomb Slammer was another one that I felt like had a very similar flight. But if you don't throw it on power grip, I think you're going to find a lot of inconsistency in the flight. And so as a fan grip thrower as well, I just will not throw this disc.
There it is, Divergent Golem. Check it out at infinitediscs.com because we just gave it a glowing review. I know you can't wait to pick one up. Okay, on we go. It is time for our picks and the over-under this week. I'm going to give you the over-under first.
Ooh, okay. Changing up the order.
All right. Yeah. So currently there are, in MPO, 6 players rated 1040 or better in the field. Ricky Wysocki, Paul McBeth, Chris Dickerson, Matty O, Calvin Heimberg, Gannon Burr.
Okay.
Josh, the over-under, it is currently Wednesday at 7:24 a.m. Over-under 5.5 players begin this tournament that are rated at least 1040.
So you think there's going to be some drops?
I'm asking you to decide whether at least one player will drop.
Do you know something I don't know?
I know there's no insider information here.
All right.
That would be against the spirit of over-under.
I'm going to say
Worlds in a week and a half.
Right.
Is what I'm getting at here.
Right. I'm going to say over.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say over. I think that in a world where it's Utah and players haven't played that course or those courses as often, a lot higher likelihood, but we're going to Emporia. Everyone knows what to expect. I think all 6 are going to play.
Okay. There it is. Picks. Let's do it. Josh, take us away.
Yeah. Over in FPO, I have Paige Pierce in 3rd. This course reminds me of Jonesboro in a lot of ways. It has some woods, but open fairways, elevation, not a ton of it, but it has greens that have some elevation, and elevation changes, some slopes on those. And so I looked at I look at Jonesboro and I look at who succeeds there. I don't know if it has the same distance, but I still like Paige's ability to shape lines. One thing that we talked about is overcoming a deficient forehand, and I think that this course sets up really well for someone who can shape a lot of shots with their backhand. So I like Paige for the podium. My second place, I've got Lisa Fakis. She played really well last weekend, and it's kind of just a spidey sense. I think she has a really good putt. She has an overall game that I think is going to keep her out of trouble. This course really doesn't give up a ton of bogeys, but I think the ability to chug along is going to be big for her. But my winner is going to be Kristen Tatar. This was the first tournament after Worlds. She got her podium start after the, I think, 5th place finish at Worlds. She has an injury. It's still a lingering question, but she proved to us that she can still play just as well as ever before at Ledgestone last weekend. And I love her on this 3-round, a little bit easier course. And I think that she's going to be able to take it home.
Well, I'm right there with you on Kristen Tatar this week, matching it up for picking the winner. Look, I just think, Kristen's like talking in the press conference after the round, or I think it was just after the round. And she says, I didn't really feel like I played very well. And she's still on the podium. Like, what? I mean, that's how good she is. I mean, this is the highest rated player in the world. And I expect that this course is going to set up nicely for her game. Mm-hmm. And I think she's going to be very focused on dialing in the things that were not going as well as she wanted last weekend at Ledgestone. So I've got Kristen to win. In second place, I've got Katrina Allen. Katrina played quite well here last time around. I think she ended up finishing in fifth, 1 under, but that was only 4 shots off the leader. Remember that FP only played 2 rounds. Mm-hmm. So I've got her in second. Missy Gannon, who won this tournament last year, I have in third place. In some ways, like, it's another big purse this weekend. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I should be doubting big money Missy, but at least I'm keeping her on the podium.
Right.
We'll see. Right. We'll see what she can do. Over in MPO, I've got Calvin Heimberg in third place. He finished second here last year behind Paul Macbeth. Had some kind of like very different type of rounds at Ledgestone, like a really bad round and then an amazing round back to back. I don't really know what to make of that. I think this course is a lot more straightforward, and I expect him and many of the other top players to shoot well pretty much every day. I think he's got a great chance to win this weekend. Kevin Jones, I have in second place. Feels a little out of nowhere, but he did play pretty well here last year. And it just seems like we need one more guy to pick it up right before Worlds. And Kevin Jones seems like that guy. Like, okay. He's been kind of a ghost this year at times, but he has been a gamer at the majors. And so I expect to see him starting to ramp up a little bit this week. Where did he finish at Ledgestone? I don't even remember like seeing his name or talking about him at all.
12th.
I'm going to check right now. 12th. Okay. I mean, feels like kind of his season, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
you look at the last few Pro Tour events, 21st at Portland, 16th at Preserve. He obviously played third at European Open. I mean, he was the best of the rest at European Open. Then 11th at Deglo and 12th at Ledgestone. For a player of his caliber, it's mediocrity. But I think we're going to see him pick it up. Finally, I've got Paul Macbeth winning. 12 wins, or 12 tournaments in a row that he has not won. He's not going to let that keep going. This seems like the right time for him to come back and get a win. And obviously, he won here last year. And he looked quite good at times at Ledgestone. So I think, I think he's going to get the monkey off his back before Worlds.
Okay. In third place, I have Ricky Wysocki. Not only is he the number 1 player in the world right now, but he is peaking at the right time. He's getting ready for Emporia, and I think he's just going to have a killer instinct this weekend that I would not want to be playing against Rick this weekend. That's granted. I wouldn't want to play against Rick any weekend, but especially not.
I want to play against Rick in 3 weekends. Right after Worlds, the day after Worlds, he and I are going head to head.
How much of a handicap do you need?
Oh my God. I don't even want to think about it.
All right.
He is only allowed to throw the divergent golem, and I get to throw whatever I want. He'd probably still beat me.
Oh man, I would love to see that. I would come watch that. So anyway, in my second place, I'm calling an audible because I had him to win, but I've decided I'm switching it up. I've got Calvin Heimberg in second. Played well here, well last year, same reasons. I also still think of this in a similar... a lot of the holes that are memorable to me from this course remind me of Jonesboro, and Calvin Heimberg plays well at Jonesboro. I like him a lot on this podium. But my winner, I'm picking Gannon Burr. I've done it a couple times this season, and I'm doing it again. I think this weekend just sets up better for him because I know it's an Elite Series event this weekend, and it's a better field because of it. But I also think that pressure has been Gannon's biggest trouble, And this tournament has very little pressure in my mind when it comes relative to the season, coming directly after Ledgestone, right before Worlds. I think if there are players who are going to drop or who just aren't quite as focused, Gannon's got a really good opportunity here that I think this could be his weekend and propel him forward to being a serious contender at Worlds.
Love it. Love it. You've picked Gannon a few times this year.
I have.
I think I've picked him once to win, and you've picked him 2 or 3 times.
Two or three times, yeah.
So
I picked him for like Idlewild as well.
It does feel like it's just a matter of time. I do like his game on this course. So enjoy the Des Moines Challenge, everybody. We will be back with you. We'll be with you Sunday night if you are an Ulti-World Disc Golf subscriber. Rapid React show coming your way. And then we will also, of course, be back with you next week on Tuesday as we get ready for the World Championships. Exciting stuff. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.